Welcome back to taxation number 2, and today we take up lesson number 2. Learning objectives for lesson number 2 are as follows: understand the corporate formation, distinguish between tax basis and shareholder basis, recognize the special rules of Section 351 transactions, and describe small business corporation stock. This last item I was not familiar with myself, so I looked it up, and I've attached an article which I found onto your website there. Take a look at that. That'll help you to understand what they're talking about here is special tax treatment for the stock of small corporations. That these can be held, and I think it's 50% of the taxes are forgiven on any capital gains on those stocks, which is quite a windfall. In the readings, we're looking at 2 pages only, page 8 and page 9 of the textbook. We'll cover those in a few minutes. It is rather sparse, so we're going to have a very short class. I know you're brokenhearted about that, but at any rate, we're going to read charitable contributions on page 8, and we're going to read net operating loss on page 9. And they've not a lot to say in those either. I'm surprised the lessons are so uneven. Discussion questions. We have 4 as usual, and these you're going to probably need to do a little bit of background reading before you can answer them. The first one is distinguish between tax basis and shareholder basis, and we'll chat more about that in class, but that is something that is not covered thoroughly in the textbook, although it really should be. Number 2, discuss recognition of shareholder contribution of cash, property, and service. And we discussed this last week, so this is a continuation of the same subject. And you can use the things that we talked about there in class, and there's additional information in the textbook as well. Number 3, discuss the special rules to be qualified as Section 351 transactions. I confess I have not yet looked up Section 351, but we will discuss that section when we get to class on Wednesday. And finally, number 4, Section 1244, Small Business Corporation Stock, permits shareholders to deduct an ordinary loss on sales of worthless stock. Discuss how these transactions affect the corporation tax return, or affect the corporate tax return. Well, clearly they're going to, for corporations that choose to invest in such things, they're going to give them a tax write-off, thereby increasing their profitability. Still, when it's a total write-off and you've lost, the question is, did you lose more or break even? And that would be the best case scenario. Anyhow, take a look at that and compare it with the reading that I gave you with the extra little article, which also discusses some of the finer points of this. Take a look at page 8. We're here to discuss charitable contributions. And it says that if a corporation makes charitable contributions to a qualified organization, there is a limitation on the amount of the deduction. And the deduction, looking at the formula, not exactly clear what percent is allowed in that deduction. But secondly, organizational expenditures is not discussed in the reading plan, but it is the next item on page 8. And here we talk about the cost of organizing the company. Usually with a corporation it can be significant, some thousands of dollars for a regular C-type corporation, right on up. if you're forming a rather large organization off the bat. And then net operating loss, they contrast for you the individual and the corporation formulation or procedure for calculating net income. And we'll take a close look at that in class. It'll take all of about 10 or 15 minutes to discuss the ins and outs of that. The carryback and carryover is mentioned, and the second part is casualty and theft, casualty loss and theft. And again, that is not indicated in the readings, but it is on page 9, and it gives us a quick look at the items that are available as individual tax deductions and as corporate tax deductions. And very interesting, insurance, casualty, theft, so forth, is fully deductible for the corporation. There are limitations on it for the individual, obviously for one reason, because of the potential for abuse. So that wraps up our lesson 2 for the video, and we'll look at these issues again. I'll have a little time to do some background study on a couple of the items there that are not clearly explained. And we'll look forward to seeing you in class. You have a great week.